All right, yogis. So let's sit, if that's not already clear. You can establish any comfortable seat you wish, a simple cross-legged, both legs extended out, or if it works for you, a kneeling position, like Virasana. Once you feel established in your seat, just take a moment and really feel those sit bones on the ground. And the metaphors are rich, but in an actual, non-metaphorical way, feel that sense of being grounded. Feel the earth. Once you feel like you've made that connection to the ground, feel free to let your eyes close for a minute or two. You may also sneak in a little subtle bandha. A bandha is a place where there's an energetic lock or a little seal. And there's one at the roof of your mouth, wherein you softly, gently, without too much tension, let the tongue occupy that space. Might even adjust your jawbone slightly. And it's a good position. It's hard for me to do while I'm talking, of course, but while you're just practicing, that's a good place to just help instill nostril breathing with the tongue in that shape. And it's pretty interesting, I must admit. It's kind of come in waves, some of the elements of yoga practice. So maybe in the 80s and 90s, our asanas were really starting to break through into the wider mainstream world, like a recognition that all these different movements are really good for you and interesting to explore. And then it feels like maybe the last 10 years, meditation in all its forms has really sort of come to the forefront. It's always been a foundational part of the yoga practice, a little different from the asana. And maybe it's just the world that I live in, but it feels like the last couple years, especially this last year or two, breathing has really made its way into the more mainstream movement community. A recognition of its importance, its value, how many different ways you can use it. It's almost like a little control switch to your nervous system that a lot of people just rarely tap into. And yet the yogis have been on this for at least 2,000 years. And as most of you know that are practicing right now, asana, posture, and pranayama, all variations of breath work, and dhyana, meditation, they're like the core of the yoga practice. So let's get at it. We've got this asana established. And without furrowing the brow, without a concentration that you might apply to a difficult math problem, instead more of a concentration like when you're just staring out to sea. And you're looking up at the sky. And apply that form of kind of meditative awareness to whatever breathing sensations are present and most pronounced. And then see if you can give your gentle but total attention to just these next 2 breaths. Just continue breathing with that soft awareness. Just see if you can find over the course of a minute or so a pretty steady, even ratio. And we might even start with just 4 as a generic number. So see if you can start tapping into something around a 4-count inhale and a 4-count exhale. In and out through the nose. When your mind wanders, and you lose track and you lose focus and something else bubbles up, and it's all good. Notice that. Come back and just get on track last few rounds In fact, let's just call it 4 more rounds of 4x4 breathing. And then see if you can find just 5 rounds of 5x5 breathing. 5 rounds of 5x5. So a 5-ish inhale count, obviously. And 5-ish on the exhale. And then just watch your breath for the last minute at whatever pace it moves at. If you'd rather stick with the counting, you can do a 5-1, 5-1. And add a little hold after each phase. If you'd rather, we're just hitting this last minute of pranayama, and you're just watching the natural course of breath manifest. Or you're on your last minute of counting. Oh, goodness. It almost sounds cliche to say because it's like, well, yeah, but that's so balancing, so centering, so grounding, so stabilizing. That simple breath practice, or some very minor derivation off of it, that's available to you always, anywhere, under pretty much all circumstances, right? I dive into my phone every 5 extra minutes I've got. Everything I want is there. But every once in a while, just take those 5 minutes and tune into your breathing. And you've got a built-in inner mantra to work with, the counting. It's really simple, but curiously very powerful. Especially when it's through the nose. Now, I know at various times we're a little bit more congested, or we feel that way. This sounds weird, but the research is that in the nasal cavity, there's, similar to like erectile tissue, or what's on nipples or anything that sort of contracts and expands. And it does so at various times, and sometimes one side's a little more expanded and sometimes one side's a little more open. But the more we do nasal breathing rather than mouth, the more accustomed we get to it, the more efficient we get at it, and the better it gets, and the easier it gets. So, as often as you're able to, nasal breathe. Anyway, let's move on. That was kind of a long opening seat. So before we get up to all fours, let's just take a nice wide stance in a seat. This is called Upavista Konasana. And we're going to oh my God. Woo, that feels good. So we're going to post up backward. And we're just going to let the neck extend a little bit. Also reaching out through the legs. Arching a little through your back. Maybe even arching a lot. You can pretty much do full dog tilt here. Oh my gosh. Then let's come up to a more neutral stance. Really a neutral seat, of course. And then little by little start to flex forward. And let your back round, let your head flex. Two more big breaths here. And then slowly find your way up. Let's shift to all fours. Okay. I know I cover this ground a lot, but there's so much good work to get to from all fours, and if it's just a wrist concern, really do explore playing with fingertips on the ground, so you make like a little dome with your hand, fists on the ground, maybe just a little bit more angle in your wrist, so instead of like, you know, straight 90 degrees, it's sloped closer to 80. You can also just a little less hanging right into the joint and a little more juice through the arms and into the upper back. Okay, let's do our spinal rock. 10 or 15 times. So this is where you pretend you've got a fused spine that can't cat or dog tilt. And it can just sort of get leveraged off the hips here. Let's try about 10 more. Last 4 or 5. Oh my God, that feels good. Oh man. Now, let's pull back as far back as you can go without a huge round in your back. So you're right at the edge. Your hips have exceeded the angle of your knee backward by quite a bit. Now, leave one hand on the ground or even a forearm. if that's kind of like the right angle for you, if you're that deep into the pose. And just reach the opposite arm out. Oh, you won't need to go far before you really start to feel this one in a sweet way. Twist. Now you're mainly trying to twist where it's really hard to twist. In your mid and upper back, where there's a giant cage there protecting a bunch of soft organs. Oh, but there is a spinal column in there that can move a little bit. Oh my God, that feels good. Let's switch sides. So to clarify, we're in the back of this hip hinge, deflecting low back movement. In fact, it's virtually impossible. The rotation happens in your mid-upper back. Small number of degrees could equal pretty, powerful experiences. So be there with it, but don't try to take it too far. Explore. One more big breath. Oh my God, that feels good. And then range back to center. Oh, and let's come up to neutral tabletop. Okay. So now, let's go into the full cat and dog tilt, which we pretty much avoided thus far. So you want to squeeze your tail with your butt cheeks, with your glute muscles. Pull in the belly so it doesn't relax, it draws in. Round through your back, a little bit in the low, a little bit in the mid, a little bit in the upper. Spread through your shoulder blades. Push the ground, but pull the undercarriage. And then, cow or dog, you relax the undercarriage. You soften the glutes. Kind of lengthen the chest. Up and forward like we're going on a little arc. Your tail up and back like you were on a little arc. Let's try that 4 or 5 in each direction. So you're rounding with some strength. And you're arching with some purpose. A little more relaxation. But well distributed, so you don't just hammer one or two little vertebral segments. You get that little extension shape going everywhere. 4 more, y'all. So you round, cat tilt, squeeze your glutes, pull in your belly. Change even where the apex is a little bit. If it always feels like it's like this one vertebra, move it down a little lower. Last 3, bear in mind this happens, regardless of whether it's a focus, but you can also feel just what your pelvis is doing. Tilting backward. Tilting forward. 1 more per direction. All right, everybody. Let's flex all the way back and down, basically child's pose. Modified a little bit if need be. Now from here we're just going to veer over to the right a little bit. Oh my gosh, that feels good. Then we're going to veer over to the left a little bit. So the way that thoracic twist worked earlier, this is sort of like thoracic focus, but lateral bending instead of rotating. One more time, side one, last one. And last time, second side. Hips stay pretty much anchored. I mean, that one might come off the heel a little bit, but it's mainly just trying to tap into that thoracic spine, which is the part of your spine where all the ribs attach. Oh, but you probably feel this all the way up and down the chain. Like I feel it a little in my neck and a little bit down into the hip. Ooh. And then please come on back to center. And then let's uncurl. Ooh, up to the heels. Oh, goodness. So from here, everybody, we're going to come up to kneeling. Not too exciting? All right. Surprisingly, though, that's actually a pretty functional movement pattern. So we're going to do it like 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 10 times. Sit and kneel. So what's bringing the transition force? You know, your hips, mainly. Thrusting upward and forward, almost like they would in a bridge pose. Your quads working a little bit. Very functional. Last couple. Last one. Now in this next one, see if you can add 1 foot stepping. So now we've got a lunge shape. Opposite foot stepping. Let's try 2 more per side, and we'll get up and out of here. Last one, maybe even add a twist on this one. Oh, goodness. All right, I decided to throw in just one more. To here, so that same pattern, but now tuck back toes and come up to standing. And then once, let's put it in reverse. Bam, bam, all the way. Last one, second side. So it's the transition from, I probably went through that too quickly. It's the transition from sitting to kneeling, kneeling to lunging, lunging to standing. Awesome. All right. If nothing else, I got us up to standing. All right, y'all. So let's take the feet wider than your hips. Maybe about elbow width apart. And then just do little circles with your arms. Really not covering much more ground than the size of your actual shoulder. Circles the opposite way. You want to try to create a lot of stability in your legs here. All right, so the feet are well grounded. Circle the first way. Thighs are active. The glutes are turned on. Last time, second direction. All right, and then relax one arm, turn the palm open. Release head toward. Lift head away. Just a couple times. Switch. So new arm pinned behind you. New arm open with the palm up. Release your head. Oh my God, that feels good. And tilt the head the opposite way. Last two. Oh, God. Last one. This one never fails. That's why it keeps resurfacing. Oh, goodness. Let's release that. Let's keep the wide leg scenario. Hands at the hips. 5 big breaths here. Stiffen up a little more. 3 more big breaths here. So those feet nice and connected to the ground. That's actually another bandha. Pada bandha. Squeezed in the glutes, active in the belly, very upright through the trunk. 1 more big breath here. All right. So what we're going to try to do is a lateral squat. It's a little bit squat-like. It's a little bit lunge-like. It's sort of a hybrid. Sometimes goes by the name of a Cossack squat. So let's do this. Let's reach the arms forward to start. You're going to take one hand and clasp the wrist. Without back bending, let the arms reach up. Okay. So first 8 or 10 or 12 reps, we're going to try to be really on with the alignment and basically try to track the knee right over your ankle or approximately the part of your foot where you tie your shoelaces. Start by bending your right leg. Keep your left leg straight. Now, I'm not down to a full 90-degree angle, but I am abiding by that first and really the primary principle we're trying to work with here is just letting that knee sit over the ankle, having a nice strong tactile foot, and keeping the opposite leg straight. Okay? And then let's switch. Oh. So especially if you haven't done a lot of these, or maybe it's just been a while, this isn't a huge bend. Going from here to here doesn't look like I did much. But when you apply that, it's a strong pose for that one leg, all the way up and down your hip. So really tap into that, side to side. Now, it's fine to pitch the torso a little bit forward. Oh, man. 5 more per side. Reverse engineer it around that alignment. So if you need to modify the feet a little bit, feel free. If you want to switch wrists, feel free. Whew. Last 2 per side. Oh my God. To come out, we're going to twist into a lunge. Nice, long, stretched out lunge. Whatever leg wound up forward, reach that arm out like a wing and twist. And then untwist. Step the back foot a little closer in. To try to scissor the legs straight. And then see if you can take the hands out of the equation. Okay. Let's bring both hands down. Let's spin to the long part of your mat. And let's spin to the short part of the mat on the other side. Find the matching arm to the front leg. Twist. Come back to square, untwisted. Shorten the stance so you can get both legs straightish, fully straight if possible. And then see if you can take the hands away and just find the balance. So this is going to be a different kind of transition. We're going to stay in this exact angle with the legs and just come up with a hip hinge. Okay, now let's take the back foot stepper forward and come back to that open face across the wide part of your mat. So, let's break down Parsvatonasana together. Turn one leg forward. I'll just cue it with my actual leg because I don't think I'm mirroring right now perfectly. So I've got my right leg forward, left leg back. Squaring up the hips. Everybody faces this way. Basically all 10 toenails. 2 hip points. Shoulders squared up. You let the hands rest on your hips or clasp behind your back for a little more challenge. Now here's the tricky part. I mean, there's more than one, but that front leg stays straight, but not hyperextended. So the positive way of saying not hyperextended is a little tiny bend. Hinge at your hips.
So then.
Oh.
Yeah, so he took the cover.
And then the last little bit, you can fold with your spine if you're able. Oh, goodness. That's a challenging move. Now keep squared up to that short side of your mat. Inhale, come up. Turn to the long side. Let's try the opposite side. So new leg forward, new leg backward. Hinged at the hips. If we stuck with only a flat back and we were doing like warrior 3, we'd stop here. Full Parsvatonasana, which is this shape. Oh man, adds the little bit of flexion in your spine. Keep everything squared up to the short side of your mat. Inhale, come up. One more time. Side 1. Square up. Hinge. Now maybe you want to just stop here. Maybe you want to add the full round, but bypass the challenging balance part, thereby letting your hands be along your foot. Maybe you want the whole thing. Inhale, come up. Side 2. Square hips. Hip hinge. Maybe a little rounding with support. Maybe a little rounding without the arm support. And then please inhale and come up. And let's face the wide part of the mat again. Let's bring the feet together. Whew. All right. I don't want to hit this too hard, but ode to some of my old Iyengar teachers, we would often have a 90-minute class and we'd do 5 poses, just because we'd go back to it and refine and refine and refine. Anyway, my teaching style hasn't stuck with Iyengar formally because I'm informed by lots of other traditions, but I do sometimes like going back to some of those fundamentals and refining. So we're going to do Parsvatonasana one more time. We're going to add the last component. Hold your hands like this. So just for about 5 breaths, get used to your arms being behind you. Try not to let it turn into merely pushing everything else forward to accommodate, but keep the front part strong, but just add those arms backward as a new feature. Both arms. Now for 5 breaths, let your palms touch and point your hands down your back. Shoulders open. Head backward. Ribs in. Belly engaged. Butt squeezed. Palms together. We're getting there. This is a maybe. Flip your hands up. Oh. I pulled it off, but, you know, with a major caveat. The heels of my hands couldn't stay together. So I'm not quite flexible enough for this part if I want to adhere to that element. So some variation of arms behind you. Left leg forward, right leg back. Hinge from your hips. Continue the rest of the way into the pose. Continue to regulate your breathing. And as you're ready, come up. Last one. Right side. Now, if your arms need a break, you've got those three options, right? I mean, obviously, one, you can just take a break. But you've got the hold elbows. Point the hands down. Or point the hands up. Last one, Parsvatonasana. Extended side angle pose. Hinge and flex. Inhale and come up. Back to center. Oh, goodness. And last move here. Totally different kind of shape. You're going to bind the hands together behind your back again, but with a fist. Take the legs as wide as is comfortable, or even bordering on like, whew, that might be too much. Don't push it quite there, but get a little extra width if it's available. And then last one here, we're just going to hinge straight forward. And any available shoulder flexibility, as long as it feels like it's done safely and you're not pushing into your joints too hard, let those arms come forward. Oh, goodness. When you're ready, everybody come on up. Release the arms. Finally, let's step the feet together. All right. So that's a lot of arms behind the back, which we don't always leverage into quite as much. There's a lot of square hip stuff, which is great, and it's one of the frame of references we want to be able to have down, but we leaned into a lot of that today. So anyway, let's come down back to all fours. And then one time here, let's reach right arm forward. And release. Then left arm forward. Oh my God. And release. So here's the deal. Get really mindful of your tabletop not moving. Let's see if we can take one leg backward. So I know I could feel it right there. I shifted more when I lifted my leg than when I lifted my arm. Oh, release. Let's try the other leg. And release. So this pose is great. And it's easy to cheat a little bit. And it's probably still actually a grand pose, even if you do cheat a little bit. But if you don't, if you keep that trunk steadfastly stable, this pose, what's up, dude? This pose is so hard. You want to come over here? This giant seagull, he's just barely out of frame. Good God. That thing's as big as my dog. Okay. I hope he doesn't get angry. What's up, buddy? I got nothing for you, man. All right, sorry about that. He's like really, really close. Or she. Let's try that again. Steadfast stability. Oh my God. Like I can feel so many muscles kick in when I just reach an arm forward. The undercarriage just gets really strong. Don't eat my microphone, buddy. And then switch. He thinks it's a black corn dog. Get away from that thing, dude. Don't peck my mic, buddy. Oh, man. Let's go back. Oh. This pose is so easy when you cheat and so hard when you don't. I don't want to kick you, buddy. So then let's go to the leg. Ay, ay, ay. Oh, I shifted so much. Let's go to the other leg. Oh. Oh. Good Lord. I don't think I've got the juice for this thing right now. But you probably do. So let's at least try one round where we do both arm and leg. Steadfast stability with the trunk. Then we'll come down on our back and slow it down and rest. Feel that stability here. Maintain it here. Maintain it here. Oh. Try not to shift side to side. Try not to rotate your hip. Oh, I see. This guy's just trying to get some camera time. He wants to be a star. I get it. And then release. Last one. Oh my God. Telling you, you get super good at that pose, and it's a little bit of everything. All right, let's come down onto our back as promised. We're gonna cross one leg over the top of the opposite leg and hug that lower leg. Well, you know, the experience of this pose is almost always felt in the leg that's on top, but you can use the lower leg for leverage. You can rock it side to side. Oh, God. Okay, and then oh my God, that feels so good. Let's switch sides. And then let's release. Last little movement here before we rest. Let's go ahead and start with the 2 flat feet with the bent knees. Take one leg straight up in the air. While you keep your hips stable on the earth, let the leg go out a little bit. Now if you get too zealous with the leg out, it'll for sure rock the opposite side of your hip off the ground. So be mindful. Let the legs start to come down and back in line. Then try that 2 more times on the same leg. So bring her up, out a little, slightly forward. One more. Let's switch legs. So it might feel like you're covering almost exactly half of a circle. Right? The leg comes in, you're like, oh, that's kind of 6 o'clock. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. One more. Then please take both legs up, both arms up, and shake it out. Shake what out? I don't know. Just shake. Maybe some tension shakes out. But just the act of kind of shaking, just for itself. This is a maybe. The closer. Let the sacrum kind of drop and lift and drop and lift and drop and lift, like the equivalent of somebody kind of pounding their fists on the lowest part of your back. Oh my God, that feels awesome. Okay. Used to do that one a lot. And then let's close it out, y'all. Shavasana, corpse. Mind wide open. One subtle pathway to that mind wide open is a sense that the third eye, or if you prefer the term, the glabella, the brow chakra, Sushumna Nadi, sorry, that's the whole central line. But that third eye region, that space between the brows, just letting it soften, letting it unfurrow. Maybe, and it's only a maybe, that first minute you guide a few easy, comfortable, deep breaths and linger on the exhale. For the bulk of the pose, you're just letting the breath move completely on its own. Tatsavatu Varenyam Bargo Devasya Dhimahi That's the Gayatri mantra. All right. So, please make your way back up to a comfortable seat. We'll come full circle. Burp, burp, burp. Either way you like your legs crossed, but basically returning to our opening shape. Reconnect to the breath for a moment. All right, and then participate with any senses you would like to. You can just listen, or you can vocalize. But let's close with 3 Om sounds, right? So obviously we make that sound on a big exhale, so it helps to take a big inhale first. Let's try that together. Big inhale. Two more. One more. Namaste.